This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. At the wrap party, everyone started cheering for Hailey and Tony to share a kiss, like in the show. The two of them exchanged a knowing glance and smiled. In the next second, they were all over each other. Amid the excited screams, someone suddenly yelled, "How about the second male lead and the female lead too?" Hailey's eyes darkened immediately. The second male lead was me, and I was Hailey's actual boyfriend. The atmosphere grew awkward as Hailey's cold stare quieted the crowd. Tony quickly took Hailey's hand. "Stop joking around, guys. I'll give Hailey another kiss for you. Don't force her to do something she doesn't like." Doesn't like? I wondered who'd drunkenly clung to me for 10 minutes the night before, begging for a kiss. I put down my glass and walked straight toward Hailey. "It's just a kiss, right?" I smiled. "It's no big deal. How about giving the best actress, Hailey, some support?" Hailey's brows knitted slightly. "Rocky." There was a warning tone in her voice. "Rocky," Tony added, putting his arm around Hailey protectively. "Everyone's just joking. Don't take it seriously." My gaze dropped to see Hailey's hand resting perfectly around his waist. The two of them together, in such an intimate embrace, were impossible to separate. "Get out of my way," I said quietly. Tony froze, turning to look at Hailey. Hailey's face grew darker. "Rocky, don't make a scene," she said sternly. Tony tugged her hand. "Rocky must be drunk. Don't be mad. It's the wrap party, after all." She gave a playful pout, then clasped his hand gently. How intimate they were. I lifted my head to look at the woman nestled in Tony's arms. Just like in the show, I was the evil supporting role, while she was the one who resolutely loved the lead. Despite being her boyfriend, I'd never once been acknowledged by her in front of others. "Get lost." I forced down my nausea and repeated, "This time, both of you, get out." Of course, the leads wouldn't leave. Under all those gazes, I slammed the door and left. While drinking alone on the hotel rooftop, I received a text from Hailey. "Come back and apologize to Tony. Just say you were drunk." I blocked her without hesitation. As the light rain began to fall, I tilted my head back. Memories of these 4 years with Hailey came flooding in. For 4 years, I'd been by her side, watching her rise from a top influencer to an award-winning actress. Back then, she'd starred in a low-budget web series that unexpectedly became a hit. Her agency assigned her to do a PR campaign as a couple with Tony, the show's male lead, and she couldn't refuse. She'd seemed pretty miserable at first, always confiding in me, saying, "I really don't want to do this couple PR with him. I can only pretend he's you to manage a smile." She promised, "Rocky, wait for me. When I'm big enough to stand on my own, when I'm not under anyone's thumb, I'll tell the whole world I love you." Back then, we'd still talk about the future together. A dog, 2 kids, 3 meals a day, 4 seasons together, and hearts that beat as one. But when did it start? She started replying to my calls less often, while her gaze toward Tony grew increasingly warm. For 4 years, they kept up that PR relationship, never admitting it but staying ambiguous. In public, he would help tie her shoelaces on set or take her on bike rides through the mountains. In private, she was fighting his defamation cases with her lawyer and introducing him to famous directors at private dinners. Fans lovingly called them the details couple for the sweet gestures that always seemed to come through in their interactions. Sometimes, what you play can quietly turn into something real, and there I was, trapped in it all, clueless. My manager, Jack, called as I was half-dazed with drink. "Rocky, where are you?" I groggily mumbled a response. "There's an issue. You're trending." Trending? Half sober, I checked my phone. Apparently, someone had uploaded a video from the wrap party. The top 4 trends were all Hailey and Tony. Hashtag Hailey Tony stolen glances hashtag. Hashtag Hailey Tony wrap party kiss hashtag. Hashtag Hailey Tony official announcement when hashtag. Hashtag Hailey Tony wedding budget poll hashtag. Starting from the 5th position was all about me. Hashtag Rocky clown act hashtag. Hashtag Rocky rap party bully hashtag. Hashtag Rocky bought his role hashtag. The comments were brutal. What a disgrace. Just imagining him wanting to kiss our Hailey. Disgusting. Gross. Did someone air freshen the room after he left? Such a diva, slamming the door like that. Who gave him the audacity? Someone should check his connections. What garbage. Makes me furious. So, does being connected mean you can just bully our Tony? I usually don't conflate actors with their characters, but Rocky, true to his role, if you ask me. Zero talent and only in because of his backing? It's obvious this second male lead was a handout. No wonder he's perfect as the mean guy. Given special treatment, how ironic. I'd landed the lead through my own hard work, but before filming, Hailey's company pressured the producer to switch the lead to Tony. They said Tony and Hailey had better chemistry and that it would make the show more popular. Hailey herself told me that if we played a couple on screen, she'd struggle to control herself and would give away our relationship. I disagreed and had a huge fight with Hailey. My contract with the agency's almost up. Rocky, can't you just give in for once? She said I didn't care about her, but she didn't understand how hard I'd fought for that role. Even the director initially opposed the change and promised to stand by her choice. The next day, she was fired. I was reassigned to the second male lead, playing the detestable villain. That night, I watched Hailey and Tony's joint promo for the new show, biting into my stale bread. People say bread gets sweeter the longer you chew, but all I could taste was bitterness. Sometimes, without seeing or hearing things for ourselves, we can't let go. Back then, I still harbored a glimmer of hope, thinking once her contract expired, she'd be free and we'd finally be together openly. I just wanted to be close to her, to spend more time with her, so I stayed on in that show. But it felt like swallowing a knife, witnessing their sweet romance on and off the set. I scrolled through my phone again, finding a new trending topic. Hashtag Hailey protects her love at rap party hashtag. Fans were pleading for the two of them to get married, interspersed with curses and death wishes aimed at me. They said people like me who bullied others should just die already. It had been an hour, and Hailey hadn't issued a single clarification. All involved had kept silent, letting the trending topics climb to the top. How ridiculous. How utterly ridiculous. I pulled Hailey out of my blocked contacts list. I'd acted on impulse, but some things needed to be said. Word by word, I typed what I never thought I'd write. Hailey, let's break up. Hailey found me 3 hours later. Are you drunk? Did you actually block me? She came over and grabbed me. Don't touch me, I said, pulling my hand away. Rocky, everyone has limits, she lowered her voice, and you were out of line at the rap party. I asked you to apologize. Was that so wrong? This could have been resolved if you just apologized instead of making it public. I chuckled bitterly. And what loss have you suffered? She was silent. Of course, she suffered nothing. This was fantastic free publicity. The show was hyped even before its release. So here I was, still trending, with no one bothering to do anything about it. How pathetic. I was utterly pathetic. I swayed to my feet, brushing her aside. Hailey, I'm serious about the breakup. Just stay away from me. You're drunk, she frowned. I'm telling you the truth. Hailey looked at me in silence for a while, then sighed, softening her tone. Honey, stop it, okay? Let's go home. You leave. Jack's coming to pick me up in a bit. But she didn't budge, snuggling into my arms. Come on, don't be mad. Let's go home, and we'll pretend you never said anything about breaking up, all right? With that, she tilted her face up, going in for a kiss. Honestly, her sweetness always got to me before. We'd argued over Tony many times, and she'd always smooth things over this way. But this time, I felt nothing but disgust, knowing she'd just been all over Tony. Hailey, I struggled to push her away, turning my head aside. Are you deaf? I'm breaking up with you. I caught a glimpse of the rooftop door. Jack was standing there, staring in shock. He must have just arrived. I pulled away from Hailey, taking Jack by the arm as I left. Rocky. Hailey's voice came from behind, tinged with anger at her lost dignity. Repeat what you just said. I took a deep breath, turned around, and looked at her, enunciating every word. I'm breaking up with you. Fine, fine. Very well. She gave a cold smile. A breakup, is it? Fine, but don't regret it. I stayed at Jack's place for a week, and Hailey didn't contact me once. On the weekend, the casting results came out for the movie I auditioned for last month. Jack looked at me, hesitant to speak. What's up? I didn't get the role? I smiled, already used to the disappointment. No, they said the male lead is still undecided. Right now, the choices are between you and Tony, and they're waiting on the lead actress's opinion. The lead actress? It's Hailey. Oh, Rocky, Jack said hesitantly. Hailey made you give the lead role to Tony in the last show. You're her real boyfriend, after all, and she has some pull in the industry now. Should we go talk to her? Jack. I shook my head. Hailey and I already broke up. Jack's eyes widened. You really broke up? What else? You were there at the time, weren't you? I thought you two were just fighting. But Rocky, Jack said worriedly, are you really okay with this? Are you over her? It's Hailey. Over her? Moved on? Honestly, I've asked myself that question many times. For years of love, companionship, sacrifice, with plenty of sweet moments. Even now, I clearly remember the first shy words she spoke to me, how she stayed by my side for 3 days and nights when I was sick, her eyes red. I remember the time she drove 1,000 kilometers just to see me from afar on set. But even the most vivid painting eventually fades. Maybe you should go back and talk it over with her. Go back? I smiled. I am going back, but only to get my things. The apartment I shared with Hailey, she barely stayed there anymore. The paparazzi were always lurking. Her work kept her busy and our schedules didn't align. When I opened the door, I didn't expect Hailey to be there. She was in loungewear, clutching her phone, as if she was waiting for someone's message. Hearing the door, she snapped back to reality. In an instant, her expression hardened, and she gave me a cold sneer. Finally came around? Decided to come back? I nodded. Yes, I did. I walked straight to the bedroom, opened the closet, and started thinking about what it'd take. Hailey followed me. I'm not mad at you for this. Just don't act impulsively again. I already removed the online trends about you. Just apologize to Tony publicly, and I'll get you the lead role in the new movie. It's just a lead role, after all, she mumbled. Is it worth fighting about? I pulled out a suitcase and opened it. Do you have a job coming up? She asked, a bit surprised. I canceled my contract, I replied without looking up. What? Her voice rose. How could you make such a huge decision without discussing it with me? I sighed. Why would I discuss it with you? I looked up. We're broken up, Hailey. Broken up? She paused, then crouched beside me. Rocky, have you had enough of this? Such a small thing. Is it worth making all this fuss over? Tony and I have been putting on this show for 4 years. You know that. Why are you being so overly sensitive this time? I snapped the suitcase shut and looked up at her. Hailey, do you know why I accepted the second male lead role in that series? She hesitated. Because I missed you. Even though they only gave me the part of a vile supporting role, I still took it. I just wanted to see her more, to be around her more. But when I got to the set, you treated me like a stranger. She paused. Just because of that? I have a contract to maintain a fake relationship with Tony. You know that. It's been years, and every once in a while, you bring it up to fight. Do you know I get tired of it too? And besides, why do we have to kiss in front of everyone? Do you have to do that just to show off our intimacy? Rocky, can't you consider me for once before you act out in anger? I looked at her silently. Hailey, do you know I was deliberately put through hardships on set? They made me film the water scene 20 times, and I ended up with a severe cold that almost turned into pneumonia. She froze. You didn't know, did you? Because even though you had no scenes, you were busy sightseeing with Tony. I messaged you that I was sick, and 5 hours later, you finally replied. Do you remember what you said? You said, honey, drink more hot water. By the time she messaged me, Jack had already taken my feverish self to the hospital. They told me, she stammered, that you said you had something to take care of, so you left. I gave a bitter smile and shook my head. Hailey, I loved you, so I was willing to put up with all of this. But just once, even once, I wanted my girlfriend to be there for me. The wrap party was just the last straw. I really didn't want much, even if it was just a quiet word of comfort in a corner, a glance, a soft kiss. But there was nothing, not even once. You say I have a temper, and maybe I do. I lifted my suitcase, ready to leave. She grabbed my hand suddenly. For years together, arguments are one thing, but you can't just throw around words like break up, you know? She looked into my eyes. I know. She looked at me in disbelief. So, you still want to break up? Is that how little you value our relationship, that it's worth so little to you? I shook my head, unwilling to argue anymore. Hailey, we're not planning to break up. We're already broken up. I pried her hand away, walked a few steps, and then, thinking it over, turned back. You know, I'm usually pretty laid back and rarely argue with anyone. Let's end this well, considering we were in love. I'm leaving the industry, and I won't write any expose or post any pictures to try and ruin you. That, I paused, will be my farewell gift to you. She froze, then suddenly rushed over and held on to me. Rocky, stop this. Without me, where will you go? Your whole career is here. Then she turned her head away. If you really insist on leaving today, then we really can't ever go back. Just then, the doorbell rang. I turned to open the door, surprised by who was there. Tony froze upon seeing me, then looked past me to greet Hailey, looking a bit embarrassed. Hailey, I think I left a pair of underwear in your bathroom when I came over the other day. The room fell silent, and suddenly I laughed, turning my head back. Borrowing the bathroom is part of the contract too? Hailey hesitated, then said sternly, friends help each other out. If you really have no trust in me, then maybe we really should break up. Right, end it. It was meant to end anyway. I turned to leave, and Hailey, startled, quickly followed me. The elevator had just arrived, and I stepped in. As Hailey was about to step in, Tony suddenly grabbed her. Hailey, don't go down. There are paparazzi. They'll catch us. In that brief moment of hesitation, the elevator doors finally closed. I bought the next flight back to Colombia. Jack came to see me off, eyes red. Rocky, now that you're not acting anymore, what are you going to do back home? Hailey had asked me the same thing. No other choice. I'll go back and take whatever work they give me. When I was young, I'd argued with my parents and sister, insisting I would make it big in show business. Now, after 4 years, I'd barely made a mark, let alone landed a lead role, and I had a mountain of negative press. In our line of work, finding a job outside the industry isn't easy. Yeah, it's tough. I sighed. Maybe I'll just have to go back and inherit the family business. What? Jack stared at me. When it was time to board, I hugged Jack. If you're ever in Colombia, you're welcome to come visit me at the R Group headquarters. R Group? Jack muttered in disbelief. The top consumer goods company, R Group? He looked up, glancing at the huge R Group billboard not far from the airport. So, your Rocky is the same Rocky as R Group's Rocky? Yes, one and the same. The plane flew for 2 hours. Landing in Colombia, I was greeted by the familiar scent of the sea breeze. When I returned home, I found out something had happened to the family business. My parents have lived abroad for a long time, and the family company has been managed by my sister. She was originally planning to keep this from me, but I noticed many antique paintings and her prized cars in the garage were gone. After pressing her for the truth, she told me the company recently encountered a financial crisis. Mom and Dad still don't know, my sister said, massaging her temples. This time it's a bit complicated. We have to find a partner company quickly, but now only S Corp can offer enough funds, but the amount is too large. Just signing a contract might not be enough. I paused. Of course, I knew what that meant. So, sis, does that mean marriage is needed? My sister sighed. I can do it. My sister was momentarily stunned, then looked up. But what about that actress you were seeing? We broke up. My sister, much older than me, has always doted on me. When I was determined not to stay with the company and ventured into showbiz, she was the one who persuaded our parents to support me. She has carried the company on her shoulders alone for so many years, so as the youngest in the family, when trouble arises, I must step forward. Then, will you meet her? My sister hesitated. If you don't like her after meeting, we can refuse. There are other ways. I nodded. Sure. Life, it seems, is ironic. 2 weeks ago, I broke up with Hailey, and now I'm sitting in a fancy restaurant on a date with S Corp Serena. 10 minutes later, Serena arrived. She wore a tailored, elegant dress with looks and a figure that could rival any celebrity. Sorry, I was held up, she said. It's fine. I just got here too. She sat down. Shall we begin? I nodded. Then, Mr. Rocky, you go ahead and ask questions first. I thought for a moment. Are you in good health? Except for occasional dizziness when I overwork. No health issues. Oh, that's fine. Typical for female leads. What? Oh, it's just, I smiled a little. You might not know. In the romance scripts I read before, all the female leads have that issue. The doctor says it's stress-induced, she explained patiently. I'm an only child, so I have to take on the family business. My work hours are never set. Do female leads in those scripts have any other issues? She asked suddenly. I thought, well, they also have insomnia. I don't have that, she thought for a moment. I sleep soundly, and I don't steal the covers. Oh, neither do I. I responded without thinking. What am I even saying? That's good to know. She didn't seem to notice my embarrassment, smiling as she asked, any other questions? I shook my head immediately. No, that's it. So, Mr. Rocky's criteria for a partner is just good health and no insomnia? She rested her chin on her hands, smiling playfully. That's about right. She laughed again. So, would you like to ask me anything? I asked. She shook her head. No, I'm quite satisfied. I paused. MS, Serena, actually, there's something you should know about me. I used to be in showbiz, and I have a bit of a reputation. Is it those trending posts about the rap party? She tilted her head. I know all about it. She looked up and smiled. Surely, Mr. Rocky didn't think I'd come here without any research? In business, gathering all known information beforehand is basic conduct for any business person, isn't it? She winked. Hailey is my ex. Would that bother you? I asked honestly. If it's just that, it's simply a part of your past. I don't mind, and you don't need to feel guilty. Besides, since she's your ex, it means it's over, right? She smiled. Spending time with new people and new experiences will heal many things. I nodded. True. Everything about Hailey, good or bad, can't outlast time's flow. For a man like me, dwelling on it would just be melodramatic. We chatted for a while longer, and I found Serena to be a smart and beautiful woman. The best part of talking to someone like her is that every topic seems to flow smoothly. My marriage with Serena was soon finalized. We quickly began planning various aspects of the wedding. The next call from Hailey came over the weekend. What is it? After a long silence, she finally murmured, there are still some of your things at home. Just throw them out. Rocky, she said with urgency. This time it's my fault, okay? Mr. Rocky, would you like to come see the bride's wedding dress? The store attendant's voice came from beside me. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Are you filming? She asked. I paused. Hailey, we already broke up. Where are you? Hailey, I went home. I won't be acting anymore, and you shouldn't look for me again. Home? You're in Colombia? Why are you looking at wedding dresses? For whom? A friend? I didn't respond, and she hesitated, then offered. The night you left, I went straight to film a reality show. I just got back. Where are you in Colombia? I'll come find you. Hailey, I cut her off. I'm getting married. Hailey stayed silent before I ended the call. After tossing my phone back in my bag, I rubbed my eyes. Hearing her voice stirred up some complex emotions in me. After all, I once thought I'd love her forever. I never imagined there'd come a day when I'd tell her over the phone that I was getting married. Serena arrived half an hour later to get measured for her wedding dress. You seem a bit distracted, she observed. Didn't sleep well? I shook my head. No, I was just thinking of picking out a dress for you, but I wasn't sure which style you'd like. I feel like maybe we should get to know each other better before the wedding. She nodded. How? Tomorrow's Saturday, I suggested. Want to go see a movie? That night, I bought the tickets. On Saturday night, Serena wore a playful little dress, adding a hint of girl next door charm, which drew admiring glances from passing guys. After the movie, we walked down the street side by side. To make walking easier, she wore a pair of canvas shoes, but her laces came untied twice in no time. When they came undone for the third time, I couldn't stand it and bent down ahead of her. Serena froze in place as I picked up her laces, looping them deftly and tying a complicated knot. They're all done, I said with a smile. This won't come undone now. She shook her foot with a grin. Wow, impressive. It's really tight. Rocky. I looked up at the sound of her voice, freezing on the spot. A familiar figure stood not far away. Hailey. Maybe I know her too well. Even with a mask on, I could tell she didn't look well at all. She walked over and stood in front of me and Serena. And this is? Serena looked at me. Hailey, I told you about her, my ex. Serena paused briefly, but quickly extended her hand with a graceful smile. Hello, MS. Hailey, I'm Rocky's fiancée, Serena. Hailey's face went a shade paler. In the cafe, I sat across from Hailey. A few minutes earlier, we had run into each other on the street. Hailey insisted on speaking to me alone, and after getting my consent, Serena went back to the car to wait. I remember you were always the best at tying knots, she suddenly said softly, but I never managed to learn. I paused. Hailey, you used to tie my laces every time they came undone, she murmured again. Yes, but that was before. Later, she wasn't just letting me tie her shoelaces, she was letting Tony do it too. It had been a long time since I'd last tied her shoes. You must have hired someone to pretend to be your fiancé to fool me, right? She suddenly accused. I shook my head. I'm really getting married, Hailey. I don't believe you. She looked up, staring intently as if trying to catch a hint of dishonesty on my face. I sighed. After a moment, her expression became visibly panicked. Rocky, she clutched my hands tightly on the table. Tony and I are just a contract CP. I swear I've never done anything to betray you. That day, he got drenched in the rain while filming. His home was too far, so I let him come over to shower. Nothing happened, I swear. I was mad that day, that's why I didn't explain. I thought we were just arguing, like we always used to. You remember you wanted to be the lead in that new show? I spoke to the director, and they've already secured the role for you. Rocky, I've thought it through. Once this contract is over, I won't accept any more CP bindings. We'll go public, okay? From now on, we can act together, and you'll always be my leading man, all right? Rocky, her eyes reddened slightly. We promised when we first got together that no matter what happened, we wouldn't break up so easily. Yes, we did say that. I looked up, quietly watching the person in front of me. This was the person I once loved deeply, for whom I compromised, for whom I was willing to sacrifice myself. But she was the first to let go. All along, she enjoyed the thrill of ambiguity while taking my loyalty for granted. I slowly withdrew my hands. Hailey, I'm getting married, and I don't want my future wife to go through the pain I endured. So please, I looked directly into her eyes, don't contact me anymore. I've already left the entertainment industry. Acting was just a hobby for me. If I really wanted lead roles, my family could arrange countless opportunities. Your family? She hesitated. It doesn't matter now. I shook my head. I had once planned to bring her home to meet my family when we went public. I had even thought about how she might be shocked to discover I was the heir of the art corporation. But now, none of it mattered. I loved you once, so I want us to part with some dignity. After I spoke, I took out my phone and blocked her right in front of her. Since no one ever knew about us, let's just be strangers from now on. Back in the car, Serena was handling work on her laptop. When she saw me, she closed it and turned to me. I'm sorry. I apologized first. I didn't expect her her to find us here." She was silent for a moment and looked down. "It doesn't affect me personally," she said slowly, "but as for S Corporation has always kept a low profile. My parents have always avoided the company being associated with celebrity gossip." "I understand," I nodded. "I'll take care of it. If it were that easy, she wouldn't have come to Colombia, would she?" She muttered quietly. I paused. Why did it feel like? She seemed a bit upset. "Sometimes, things that are hard to handle alone can be easier to solve together," she thought for a moment. "Since we're about to get married, why don't I help you?" "How?" "The simplest way. Why don't we live together?" she said softly. "Huh?" She sighed. "Your sister is away on a business trip. If she comes to your place and finds you alone, what are you going to do? Are you ready to be on the gossip pages before we're even married? Don't you think if she saw us living together, she'd stop looking for you?" That actually made some sense. "But won't this be inconvenient for you?" She smiled a little. "We'll have to live together after we're married anyway, so we might as well get used to it now." Serena acted quickly. The next day, she moved her things into my suburban apartment. Hailey didn't come looking for me again, and with us living together, we began having all our meals together, and I got to know Serena a lot better. For instance, she prefers black coffee for breakfast, dislikes cilantro, loves fish but isn't good at deboning it, or that she exercises an hour a day and has the discipline but can also have a playful, girlish side. She would ask me about work, my career, and what I wanted to do in the future. "Actually, I've always wanted to start an entertainment company," I told her. "Give opportunities to newcomers like I once was." The apartment had a minimalist design but featured a small bar where I kept a lot of alcohol. Having studied bartending as a hobby, I'd often mix a drink or two for fun after she moved in. One day, I was mixing a drink when she came home. "What are you making?" She approached with interest. "A Jager bomb. Want me to make you something sweeter?" "No, I'll have yours." Mine?" With a glass of alcohol still in my mouth, my mind blanked. Sure, but use a glass." "Of course," she laughed. "Or how did Mr. Rocky think I planned to drink it?" A rush of warmth surged up to my ears. I felt like crawling into a hole. Taking the glass from my hand, she tilted her head with a smile. "This weekend, how about we go for a drive?" The topic shift was perfectly timed. I nodded. "Sure." On Sunday, we went to S Corporation's estate outside the city. On the way back, I got a call from Jack. He excitedly told me I'd been nominated for Best Supporting Actor at this year's New York International Film Festival. It's a highly prestigious award in the industry. Winning it would be a tremendous recognition of my skills. "Rocky, Hailey actually brought me into her team recently. Lately, she's been asking me all about your past. I think she still cares about you." I told her all the things you went through, stuff she really neglected. I honestly get so mad just thinking about it. She always goes silent after hearing it all. "Oh, and Tony's been visiting her a lot, but twice he left looking really unhappy." Over the phone, Jack went on and on, but I realized that the entertainment world and New York life seemed so far away now. It felt like I'd moved on faster than I had expected. Why was that? The light turned red, and I turned my head to look at the person next to me, lost in thought. "Rocky," Serena said after a moment, "if you keep staring like that, you'll scare me. You know how they do it in dramas, right? The male lead stares forever when he's about to say something bad." "Serena, yes? I think you should watch fewer dramas." She burst out laughing. "I just have a soft spot for them." As she spoke, she pointed ahead. "It rained yesterday. Let's go wash the car." The car wash owner knew Serena and warmly greeted her as soon as we arrived. After chatting briefly, Serena sat in the waiting area, pulling out her phone to catch up on some work. Then her eyebrows furrowed slightly. "Rocky, we've been photographed," she said, showing me the screen. Sure enough, it was a photo of us resting at a service area, with me standing next to the car. The caption read, "Rocky, Best Supporting Actor nominee, enjoying a trip with his wealthy lady friend." The words dripped with sarcasm. "I'll take care of this." I stepped out and made a few calls. About 10 minutes later, I returned. "It's handled." It was probably bought by one of the other nominees this time around. Serena blinked. "Another nominee?" I nodded. There were 5 nominees in total, and while 3 of them I barely knew, one of them was Tony. I had left the industry, but it was impressive he was still so concerned with me. Once the car was ready, the owner came over, beaming. "Are you Miss Serena's boyfriend?" he asked. Serena smiled, introducing me. "Yes, this is Raven's brother, Rocky." "Oh, so this is the younger Mr. Rocky," the owner said, clearly enlightened. I was just at Mr. Rocky's new garage last month. His car collection is beyond amazing. I smiled politely, but wait a second. A new garage? Serena and I returned to my place. As soon as we stepped into my villa, a pillow flew at me. Rocky, my sister sprang up. How did you trick Serena into moving in while I was away? Actually, it wasn't Rocky. Serena started. Sis, I said, rubbing my temples. Don't you think you owe us an explanation? Huh? She blinked. Is the family going bankrupt or something? My sister froze for a second before looking to Serena for help. Don't look at me, Serena shrugged, whispering, Bame, let it slip. He already knows. That Bame. My sister fumed. So you didn't sell your cars. You built a massive garage to keep them in? Yes. And Dad's collection of antiques and paintings? We bought a new house recently, and some of those items have been moved there for safekeeping. Until our parents get back for the holidays. She trailed off. What else? I asked, clenching my fist. Let me explain. Serena came over. I was the one who asked Raven to help me out. My sister sighed with relief. You're a real pal. But the story about needing to marry into another family because of bankruptcy was her idea. My sister looked away sheepishly. Rocky, it's like this, she quickly added. Yes, I misled you, but it was actually the result of discussions between me, Serena, and our parents. Once we realized what unfair treatment you were facing in the industry, we became worried. I was momentarily stunned. You knew? I thought you didn't care about the entertainment industry? She sighed, placing her hand on my head. Silly brother. I may have no interest in it, but you're in that world. How could I not pay attention? I read industry news 800 times a day. And as for her, she gestured to Serena, you probably don't know, but she's had feelings for you for a long time. I looked over at Serena. When you were in college, she liked you. But at the time, I thought she was too young, and with how clever you are, I was afraid she'd be taken advantage of, so I gently discouraged her, she said, clearing her throat. But I didn't expect her to wait all these years. Remember before you left for the industry, Mom and Dad set up a blind date for you that you refused to go to? My sister sighed. The date was with her. When you got into trouble this time, our parents actually bought plane tickets to come back, but they knew you. Ever since you were young, you've believed you're responsible for yourself, that you have to handle everything alone. We knew you'd put on a brave face as usual, but we're family, Rocky. Family should be your safe harbor. We were so happy you came back. So, after talking it over, we decided to pretend not to know anything. We wanted to give you a chance to spend time with Serena and, well, give her long-held affection a chance. As for those people, we'll take care of them. Huh? I was caught off guard. What do you mean by that? Where do you think I went on that business trip? My sister smirked. I bought that TV show. If they think they can mess with my brother, well, then they won't be seeing their show on air. I also contacted that director who was dismissed before. The script still has potential, so I told her we'd fund a new production with it. I looked from my sister to Serena, who was frowning slightly. Sis, don't you think you're being a bit too impulsive? You should really think about the return on investment, I suggested. She erupted. I need to think about ROI when avenging you? Just then, my phone buzzed with a message notification. It was a voice note. Mr. Rocky, the acquisition of X Entertainment is nearly finalized. If you're free, we're waiting for you at the office. My sister froze. You bought an entertainment company? What for? I've always wanted to start my own entertainment company. This is the result of some discussions Serena and I had recently. I smiled. Sis, your brother hasn't been wasting his time in the industry these past few years. If we get bullied and don't retaliate, can we still call ourselves family? My sister stared. All right, you. Hey, wait a minute. Then she shouted. And you have the nerve to lecture me? You two bought an entire company. Serena burst out laughing. After that, the three of us sat down and discussed the company's future, though Serena soon had to leave for her own work at S-Corp. Rocky, be honest with me, my sister asked after a pause. After all this time, have you developed any feelings for Serena? She squinted at me. If you're not interested, don't waste her time. To be honest, I wouldn't have introduced her to you right now if she hadn't been so insistent, especially after your recent breakup. Did I have feelings for her? Memories of recent days, like frames from a movie, replayed vividly in my mind. Thanks to her, I'd long since moved past my last relationship. Sis, the partnership with S-Corp. It's important, right? Even if our family isn't bankrupt. Well, yes. So, I smiled. Let's keep it going. On awards night, Serena and I flew to New York for the ceremony and entered the venue together. On the way, she fell asleep, and I slipped a ring onto her left ring finger. Once inside, a few familiar faces came over to greet us. One of them, eyeing my custom suit, exclaimed, "Wow, isn't this one of Andrew's latest designs? There's only one in the world, right?" Before I could answer, a smug voice behind me cut in. "Found himself a rich girlfriend, and it shows," Tony said, grinning. "But no matter how good you dress up a pig, it's not going to turn into a lion, right, Rocky? People immediately gathered around him. Tony, are you and Hailey getting serious? You're the frontrunner for Best Supporting Actor this year. Tony was smiling and chatting while occasionally throwing mocking glances my way. It was childish, really. Given I was here for the awards, I decided not to let him spoil my mood. Finally, the ceremony began. Before announcing the Best Supporting Actor award, the camera zoomed in on each of the 5 nominees. Tony wore a calm, confident smile right up until the host announced, "The Best Supporting Actor award goes to Rocky." His expression faltered. The camera, still on him, captured it perfectly. To be honest, I was surprised too. When I walked up to accept the award, I still felt a bit dazed. The presenter, a seasoned actor, shook my hand with a warm smile. "I've seen your work, Rocky. Even though they're supporting roles, each character is unique and well-crafted. You act with excellence." My eyes grew misty as I accepted the trophy, saying my thanks on stage. After 4 years of acting, even though I decided to leave the industry, this belated recognition meant a lot to me. Indeed, talent will always be seen. The ceremony continued without a hitch until Hailey, last year's Best Actress, came on stage to present the Best Actress award. The host asked how this year felt compared to last. She hesitated. "Last year, I missed thanking someone." "Oh, who's that?" The host smiled. She hesitated. "He stayed by my side for a long time, helped me from being an unknown extra to where I am now. But I never really introduced him properly to everyone." The audience let out a chorus of understanding sounds, and the big screen promptly cut to Tony, while the backstage staff thoughtfully added heart bubbles to the screen. "I want to take this chance to congratulate him." Why congratulate him? Are you two close to a big announcement? Because he won an award today." The host's eyes widened. His prepared words clearly stuck in his throat for a moment before he stammered, "Oh, I see. Then, let's congratulate him too." Tony's face froze. This time it was on the full screen, even more obvious than before. Audience members started to murmur and whisper to each other, and many cast curious glances my way. After all, of today's male awardees, Best Actor, Best Animated Film Director, and others, most were in their 50s, and besides them, the only other person matching Hailey's description was me. The awards ceremony ended. I stayed back on purpose for a bit, but still saw Hailey at the garage entrance. "Rocky," she rasped. I paused and walked over. "Hailey, you don't need to do this." She shook her head. "I owe you an apology." I sighed. A peaceful breakup was my final courtesy to both of us. But if you're still caught up in the past, it's just clinging. But I can't move on. Her eyes grew misty as she looked at me. "Rocky, I really can't. Can you give me one more chance?" "Rocky." I turned around. Serena was jogging over with a man's coat in her hands. Her energy was graceful, even cute. "Aren't you cold?" she asked as she approached, grasping my hand. "No. Have you been waiting long? Are you tired?" "I'm not tired. Just put on the coat." She draped the coat around my shoulders, linking arms with me before turning toward the stiff-faced Hailey. "Miss Hailey, what a coincidence. We meet again." She smiled faintly, with what seemed like a touch of apology. "Sorry, but we have a family party for Rocky to attend, so we'll have to skip catching up with Miss Hailey." Back in the car, I opened my phone. As expected, Hailey's remarks sent my name soaring to the top of trending topics again. Hashtag Hailey Rocky secret romance hashtag. Hashtag is Hailey only faking a relationship with Tony? Hashtag did Rocky win the award thanks to Hailey? Hashtag. Meanwhile, a video of Tony's post-ceremony interview quickly racked up over 10 million views. "This world isn't fair," he said, shaking his head, and I accepted that a long time ago. But no matter what unfair treatment I face, I'll keep my heart in the right place and bring you all the best work I can. As for relationships, I don't want to say much, he added with a wry smile. I have a clear conscience. But as I scrolled, I noticed a topic rising rapidly in popularity. Hashtag S Corporation hashtag. I clicked it to find that 10 minutes ago, the S Corporation's official account had posted a single line. "Congratulations to Mr. Rocky on his double joy." Early glimpses of the engagement venue of Mr. Rocky and Miss Serena. The post included a few setup photos from our engagement venue. I turned and glanced at a certain someone beside me who was stifling a laugh. "Isn't S Corporation supposed to be a low-profile company?" Without missing a beat, she replied, "After all these years, I'm finally engaged." Everyone's excited and posting a single line on the official account. That's what you call low-key. It didn't stop there. As I kept scrolling, I saw my sister had joined in the fun with her own post. "Our family's young master is the best." Thanks to her, with just one post, she managed to boost our corporation onto the trending list too. Serena. At a red light, I stopped and turned to her. "I'll be dealing with some things tonight." She nodded. "Need my help?" I shook my head. No, I'll handle it. I made a few calls. An hour later, the original director of the show shared a long post explaining the casting drama and her unjust firing. She included the initial casting videos and the original cast list. Then, a video surfaced showing how I had been deliberately mistreated on set. I was willing to let things go out of respect for everyone involved, something ingrained in me since I was a kid. But that didn't mean I would let others exploit my courtesy. Some people, without a bit of consequence, may never realize where they went wrong. Before long, people who had previously been bullied by Tony on other sets began sharing their videos and various evidence. Hailey's name also started popping up on the trending list more frequently. After all, one reason many tolerated Tony's behavior was their fear of Hailey. Officially a former fan of Hailey, she's disgusting. I want to slap Hailey across the face and ask what she was thinking. Why couldn't she just work on her relationship and her acting? Honestly, Hailey and Tony are a perfect match. Watching that rap party video again, Hailey and Tony really make me sick. Rocky must have been miserable. I owe Rocky an apology. Me too, I owe him. The online chatter continued nonstop. Even the film festival's committee issued a statement. The entire selection process was fair, just, and open. In response to certain actors insinuating about the integrity of the awards, we are considering legal measures to defend our reputation. Eventually, fans seemed both excited and exhausted. There's too much drama. I'm not getting any sleep tonight. If Tony put as much energy into his acting as he does his interviews and fake relationships, he might actually win a Grand Slam. He had the nerve to imply Rocky's win was rigged. Rocky, the young master of our corporation, engaged to the heiress of S Corporation, only acts for the love of it. If he wanted to play dirty, he could make sure Tony never worked again. A breakdown for everyone. Here's just how powerful our corporation and S Corporation really are. Long story short, Tony and Hailey aren't fit to shine Rocky's shoes. After arriving at the place in New York, Serena parked and opened her phone. So much excitement, she said quietly. Yeah, I replied. I won't pick on anyone, but I'm no saint either. I only shared the truth with the public. The right and wrong of it all. The truth is clear in everyone's eyes. Water can carry a boat, but it can also sink it. Serena laughed softly. She undid her seatbelt and leaned toward me. Mr. Rocky, she said, her eyes sparkling as though filled with stars. Congratulations on the award. You deserve it. That night, I fell asleep early and I slept well. The next day, I'd be visiting X Entertainment. I've contributed so much to this company. Most of you at X Entertainment were supported by me. Now that I'm in trouble, you turn a blind eye. Is there no conscience left here? Someone mumbled quietly. Isn't that because you said some things carelessly during that interview? What did you say? Tony snapped. I want to see the boss. Where is he? Why hasn't he been here for days? I walked into the company. What did you say? What do you mean we've changed bosses? You better explain. The assistant manager, who had been trying to calm Tony down, saw me and immediately fell silent, jogging over. Good morning, Boss Rocky. You're here. I nodded. What's with the commotion so early? The assistant wiped his brow. Oh, it's nothing serious. We'll sort it out right away. I looked up and met Tony's pale, shocked gaze. The office has been cleaned up. Would you like to take a look? The assistant manager said with a smile. I nodded. As I walked past Tony, I paused. Just now, I heard you wanted to see me? He bit his lip. No, Don't worry, I said, smiling. I'll have a talk with each employee. It'll be your turn soon. After reviewing X Entertainment's internal records, I realized how much money the company had poured into Tony over the years. Many talented young actors had been overshadowed by Tony, unable to emerge and left without proper resources. I initiated significant changes within the company, bringing in many new talents to train and develop. Tony was initially defiant, so I threw a pile of photos on the table. I've reviewed your file. You're partying with internet celebrities and small-time models captured in these photos. Cost the company quite a bit to clean up. If you want to terminate your contract, you'll need to cover these expenses and the brand losses as stipulated in the contract. In the end, he repaid the company and left in disgrace. Hailey hadn't been to the company for a long time. She had no new work on her schedule, and her contract was nearing expiration. Her fan club announced its disbandment, and many directors, wary of negative fan reactions, were reluctant to cast her. One day, Jack called, his tone anxious. Rocky, Hailey fell from a balcony and fractured her leg. She won't see anyone else, says she only wants to see you. Rocky, I think her state of mind is very off. Could you please come? That day, Serena had just arrived in New York to join me in handling the ex-headquarters relocation to Columbia. I'll go with you, she said. Are you sure we should go? I didn't particularly want to see Hailey. People say not to chase a desperate enemy, she muttered, but sometimes it's best to help them let go. In the hospital, Hailey lay on the bed looking frail, her leg in a cast. I pulled out a script from my bag. There's a small-budget web series looking for a second female lead. The team thought you might be a good fit. You could audition once you're better. Rocky, she looked up at me, her face filled with anguish. Is work all you have to say to me now? I glanced at her injured leg and sighed. You act. Turning, I saw Serena rubbing her forehead, a pained expression on her face. What's wrong? I asked, hurrying over. A sudden headache, she frowned. Did you not sleep enough last night? I pushed too hard. My fault, my fault. Does it hurt here? Yes, very much. Should I call a doctor? It hurts. Boss Rocky. I paused, glancing back. Hailey was looking at me, her face even paler than before. I'll think about the script, she said. All right, rest well. I nodded, taking Serena's hand as we left. I needed a doctor to check on her to be sure. Boss Rocky. Hailey called after me. I turned back. My contract's almost up. This time, there's no renewal, is there? I shook my head. It's time you let go. She fell silent, a bitter smile appearing on her face. I just wanted one more chance, but I didn't realize I'd already lost. Hailey left the country soon after, disappearing from the domestic film scene entirely. I relocated X Entertainment's headquarters to Columbia and ended my long-distance relationship with Serena. In a show my sister acquired, I worked with the director to cast two talented newcomers who brought the show to widespread success online. The company thrived as well. I promoted talent according to my own standards, helping those genuinely passionate about acting find opportunities. At the same time, I took over some of the family business, helping to ease my sister's burden. One evening, I returned home to find Serena making cocktails. She'd picked up mixing quickly and could now make some pretty impressive drinks after only a few lessons from me. Want a drink? She asked with a smile. Inchum, you made this one? I nodded, setting down a script. Is this for the show the company's taking on? She asked. Yes, a romance series. Romance? Huh. Does it have a second female lead? Yep, I said, walking over. The lead character is let down by the main love interest, and then the second lead comes in. This second lead is witty, charming, and really lovable. I looked up to meet her playful smile. So, Mr. Rocky, do you have any affection for your second female lead? She tilted her head, and under the warm lighting in the dining room, she looked incredibly endearing. Lifting her onto the dining table, I said, you know, you're not the second lead at all. You're the main character who came too late? She raised an eyebrow. How do you know everything? I have shares in the entertainment company, so of course, I read every viewer comment for each show. Besides, I've always been a quick learner, she said proudly. So, I asked, do you like your lead male? Her face flushed as she muttered quietly, I've already answered this question day and night since we got married, and you're still asking? I chuckled, leaning in to kiss her, but she turned away slightly. Don't you want a drink? She said. I nodded. She handed me the blue cocktail, taking a sip of her pink drink before leaning in to kiss me, blending the blue curacao and cherry brandy flavors together, just like the name of the drink. A perfect match, hearts entwined, deeply in love. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.